What is going on, everybody? And welcome to episode 58. I'm your host, Marcus. And in this episode, we are talking about how to respond to insults. Now it is a new year, and going into discovering new things, a lot of different times people are most worried about insults or judgment. And so in this episode, I kind of wanted to provide you something that would help guide you and overcome those hurdles that essentially hold us back from doing a lot of the different things that we want to start doing in our lives, making big changes, igniting big changes in our lives. And to be able to do that, you have to overcome or know how to interact with insults. And ultimately, it goes down to a lot of the building blocks that I've talked about, over a lot of my different videos. And there's a reasoning for these particular videos and understanding that for me, the first thing is for any kind of insult is to understand that, people are coming from a place where, they feel hurt in their own lives. They feel like perhaps their hopes and dreams aren't quite what they wanted them to be. So, in defense for themselves, out of hurt, out of, essentially what the world has given them, uh, they retaliate by going after other people that they see trying to ignite big changes in their lives. And for me, I feel bad for people in that situation because they need to understand that they are in sole possession of where their life can go. And by taking action and realizing that, we're all human. We all feel the same way. We all overcome hurdles. We have to overcome hurdles. We all experience things differently, yes, but we can still all overcome these things and realize that, it takes perseverance, realize that it takes um, an act of action to be able to make the changes that you want. And so I try to relate to those people because at one point, I was very much on the offense as opposed to trying to go out. I was on the defense as opposed to being on the offense and going out and trying to take action. I was more on the defensive side, playing a victim and saying, well, it's their fault, right? That I am not there. And you start thinking that you are perhaps better than another person. Well, I feel like my skill set is better, but I'm still not achieving their results. And why is that? What is wrong with me? And you start questioning yourself. And so you start lashing out. And it isn't until you come to the understanding that, you have to be persistent. You have to realize that a lot of things come down to timing and luck, but realize that you are in control of your own luck. How much effort are you putting forth to actually make the changes that you want? Because a lot of times there are some really great skilled people that may not put forth quite the effort and expect a lot of results from that. And even myself, a lot of different times, I do things and I feel like I've given it enough effort. But when I think back to it, I always tell myself, I could do more. And that's the question you should ask yourself. Can I be doing more? And realize that you can do more. And so when it comes to insults, you have to understand where that person is coming from and not take it personal. That is the biggest thing, is to not take it personal. And when I talk about that, you have to start reflecting on yourself, because a lot of times there is a lot of negative talk. And it goes back to something that I talk about a lot, which is self-talk. Like, you have to establish a good, solid self-talk to yourself, because an insult, if it essentially pings on any of those emotional triggers, right, you're going to get emotional about it and get upset about it because you already tell yourself that. And so for someone else to convey that message, it's extremely painful to hear, and it can be extremely hurtful. But then you have to also understand that the reason this person is saying this is because they're coming from a hurtful place, and to understand that not only are they coming from a hurtful place, but they are trying to get an emotional reaction. They're trying to get the emotion that they're feeling at the given moment inside of you. They want to see that, and that's what triggers them to feel like they've accomplished something to hurt you the way they feel hurt. And so when you're looking at an insult, that's the way essentially someone is trying to come at you. People aren't trying to insult you unless they are trying to get emotional reaction. If you don't have an emotional reaction, it actually very frustrating to that person. And so when someone is trying to emotionally uh, rev you up over something in particular, you need to understand where they're coming from, and then you need to understand that they are looking for that emotional reaction. So if you have the awareness of, hey, I know where they're coming from, hey, I believe in myself, and you go throughout your day and whatever given task it is, without even so much as of, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's just not the way I feel. And if you don't provide an emotional reaction, they can't get a rise out of you. They're going to, again, attempt another time, possibly, and then leave you alone because they're realizing they're not getting that emotional trigger out of you. And that is essentially what that insult is going for, is trying to get that emotion they're feeling out of you. They want you to put you down to where they're currently at. And I understand where they're coming from. I don't understand why you would have to trigger someone like that. But there are times when you are extremely frustrated, you feel like you're not getting ahead, and so you will lash out. And there are times when you need to be emotionally stable to be able to do that. And even for myself, I've had to practice this and try to overcome a lot of different things, feelings, being aware of what is going on, my emotional triggers, and understand what's going on, and try to get a better understanding of where people are coming from. Because ultimately, we live in a world where a lot of people try to do minimal effort to get ahead in life. And that is because we are sold something from the system, essentially saying that this is the only way to do it, that you are emotionally unstable. And because if you don't buy X product, that you cannot achieve whatever it is that you are trying to achieve, when in fact you can. And a lot of things you're trying to achieve are very simple in fashion, but we like to overcomplicate it and feel like there's a secret something that we are not getting. And again, when we don't achieve that, we get frustrated and we lash out because we feel like we've given it enough time, when a lot of times we don't give enough effort. We may start out giving 110%, and then after so long, you start to kind of veer off and you're not giving 110%. Maybe something else is taking your attention. And so this is where awareness in itself, and whatever thing you're trying to pursue, is important to have feedback so that you can say, hey, I'm kind of drifting off here. This is something I do want to keep in my life. And if I want this to stay in my life, what I need to do is pay the attention to it that is necessary for it to maintain itself. And again, it's something that you have to be always constantly aware of, always constantly checking in on. There's a lot of different things in my life that I do enjoy, but I let fall off. And so what I have to do is be aware that it is falling off, being aware of my results of what is happening, and then go back and correcting it. And so when you start talking about an insult, it goes back to a lot of different things. And a lot of times we just like to look at stuff surface level and saying, whatever the case is, that this insult, people are just doing it because they're in a bad place. They're not going to amount to anything. Instead of turning back and lashing back out, you have to get an understanding where they're coming from. And this goes back to a lot of different things. It goes back to just looking at life in general and how people are everybody is trying to do the same thing. And you always want to try to pay forward, just respect for someone. Not saying that everybody's going to respect you. Obviously, if it's an insult, they're not respecting you. But if you pay forth the effort and being grateful for, hey, I understand you're going in a rough time, and I'm sorry you feel that way. But you know what? You too can do it. And they may come back with another insult, and that's fine. But you have to understand, again, that they are looking for an emotional rise out of you. And if they can't get that, they're going to be frustrated, but you also teach them a lesson in what they can fix in their life. And when they see what you have done to them, they will turn around and put forth the effort. They will turn around and perhaps apologize to you, perhaps even days, months later, saying, hey, I came at you. I'm really sorry for whatever I did. I turned around and the way you approached the situation had me rethink everything, that I was really stepping out of who I was. And that in itself caused me to change. And you don't see a lot of that in society today. Everybody seems to be out for themselves. And yes, this is natural. Don't think this is not natural. I always talk about self first because it is important that you make sure your health and your mental fortitude is on point. That is important. And whatever you have to do, whatever you need to do necessary, it's not going out and hurting other people or anything like that. But you need to make sure that you are, getting the correct amount of sleep, you're eating, have a good healthy diet, getting the right amount of exercise, making sure that you are educating yourself on the things that you are passionate about. And then you come to the table, and then when you are emotionally stable in who you are, and realize that you're not flawless. We have flaws, and you're going to mess up. You're always going to mess up. No matter how good you try to be, you will never be perfect. Once you can comprehend that, once you can digest that, and realize that you are constantly learning, constantly moving forward, that in doing so, right, you always have the confidence coming to the table. So when someone's trying to insult you, you can relate. And that's ultimately the key, is when someone's insulting you, right, they are trying to relate by dropping you down a peg to their level. So you, in turn, reflect back and say, hey, I've been there. This is what I've done, by still being respectful to you and apologizing that you do feel that way, but understand that, hey, I've been there, and you can overcome it by the actions that you take, by saying, hey, I apologize that you feel that way, but it's all good. I don't need you to come in here and insult me, right? Like, I know who I am. I know where I stand. You can, with all your attempts, try to insult me, to take me down to that level, but I will not go there. I've been there. I've done that. I know where I stand. And so it goes back to a lot of inner work, and how important it is with a lot of different things I talk about on my channel, on this podcast, and what it means to establish the person that you are, and establish the confidence in yourself. And that when insults come across, you don't take it personal. And that's the biggest thing. Never take anything personal. Everything that anybody ever says is always an opinion. Now, there can be a consensus of a bunch of different opinions that agree upon one thing, but ultimately understand that your opinion matters, and it should matter most to you. And so if you allow someone to insult you, right, you're giving a person permission that their opinion means more than yours does. And in doing so, you're giving your power up. And that is your power, right? If you feel why you aren't motivated, if you feel why you can't achieve something, is because you are giving that power to somebody else. Someone else is in control of that power. But to be able to get that back, you have to take the necessary steps to build your confidence up, to build that trust in yourself, and understand that you will have mistakes. That understand you'll have a deep conversation with yourself that's saying, I know I'm going to mess up at some point, and that's okay. It's just a matter of time before I achieve whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve, and know what that is. But ultimately understand that, given any given time, the insults are going to come, and it can come from left field. It can come from someone really close to you, and that can be extremely hurtful, especially if that person feels that, they have seen you progress in, from your standpoint, it's hard to tell. Because even for myself, like it's hard for me to see where I am now compared to where I was. A lot of people can see that a lot easier than I can, because I see myself and I deal with my thoughts and my ideas every single day. So a lot of times it seems the same. It doesn't seem like anything's progressed. And that's why I always talk about, there's always that progression that you are not seeing, that unseen progression. And so you have to understand that does exist. In that you don't notice this until you back off of something, a routine that was very positive in your life, and you realize that, by doing this, that other people will get frustrated and see that, and those close people might actually start making comments, taking hits at you, insulting you. But you have to also understand that there are certain people in your life, and this is where I talk about how you have to essentially filter the people out in your life, the people in your environment, from time to time, and they may be your closest friend. You have to realize that, and maybe that relationship has become so toxic because of that desire for them to want to bring you down to their level, because they haven't taken any action, they haven't taken any steps. They'd much rather go out and perhaps party, and much rather go out and do other things that is not progressing them, yet they feel frustrated that they aren't where you are at. When you sacrifice the time, maybe you sacrifice the time of going out all the time. Instead of doing that, so you go to the gym and you're making great progress, or you're staying home and you're writing that book, or you're staying home and you're attending other conferences, trying to do better, progressing in your job, and other people are upset because they've been there longer, but they haven't been doing anything. It's always that little bit extra effort that you realize you are building confidence in yourself. It's the small wins that build up and compound over time, that you realize that over time, these things create some really great things in your life. But you have to also understand that you're going to have people that are still at that level. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. Or you could even be at your lowest point and people will still feel like, don't take that action because you're going to outshow me, and I don't want that to happen. So I'll start insulting you for it. And a lot of times, even in my life, I've been insulted a lot as a younger kid. And so for me, growing and becoming an adult, it was a lot easier for me to handle insults. And I've always fought weight issues as a young kid. I've always fought issues with my grades and everything, and I always felt like I was never smart enough. And so I've always tried to overcome and overcompensate for a lot of those different things by doing more than the next person. And even though that person may see me today and they may try to insult me because of who I am today and think that that's the way I wasn't that way before. I've had to create myself from a very low point of going to school and getting bullied every day and getting in fights almost every single day for who I was, and for being that overweight kid, and realizing that life isn't fair, and you won't know somebody's past. You're not going to know the full story of somebody. So never judge anybody on what you think is the truth, because you don't know for sure. And that's, and going back to that first statement where I said, you're trying to get an understanding where they're coming from. You're still never going to know enough. You're never going to know everything about that person, right? You get that first impression that, man, this guy is just coming off and insulting me. What is their problem? And yes, initially that's your instinct. That's what's going to happen. But you have to also understand, again, there's something going on. Maybe they were having some really good things going on in their life, and then life just happened and it started falling apart. And so now, perhaps there was a major death in the family, or perhaps they lost their job, and now they just felt like their whole world is falling apart. They're coming from that scarcity mindset that, man, everything I've worked for is falling apart. This guy doesn't seem like he's doing a lot, when in fact you're doing a lot behind the doors, closed doors. You're sacrificing a lot, and then they may insult you for it. You have to understand that there's a reason for that, and to try to be, it's always talking about being the bigger person, and this is because of that. Because you have to understand, we all are trying to do our best. We're trying to bring our best every single day, but you have to understand that, there's just some days you try to bring your best, and your best is not good at all. And so you have to keep that in mind. You have to understand that people aren't out to hurt other people. I don't feel people have that intention to just hurt other people. Just in the general masses, I think everybody wants other people to do good, but in our own selfishness, we want to be able to achieve more than the next person. And so we try to strive to do better. It's a challenge to ourselves, because we are fighting with that, those inner thoughts and ideas that go against everything that we try to do, in saying that, we're not good enough. And we try to provide proof that we are to ourselves. And a lot of times that's what we're trying to do. When someone's trying to insult you, you have to take that step back and say, okay, well, this is where I am. I know where I stand. I'm confident where I stand. I know I make mistakes. I know I do these different things. You can say whatever you want. That's fine, because I know where I stand. I know who I am. I've overcome a lot of different things. And a lot of times you may have to go through some hardships. You may have to push yourself to do some really tough things to be able to get to that point. So where you can say, hey, you can throw anything you want my way, whatever kind of insults you have. But you have to understand that for me, it's not going to bother me. And it's not saying it's always that way. Someone may say something and it may get under my skin. And that's where I have to take a step back, take a breath, and realize, where are they coming from? Is it really good on my behalf to lash back out at them, or take it emotionally and let them essentially win, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull you down to that level and realize, hey, you know what? I understand where they're coming from. But take that extra effort to be like, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that way. Let me try to do better. What can I do better? That's another big question. Ask them, what can I do better? If they say, well, this is wrong or that's wrong, well, how can I improve it? Right? Don't come to me with problems that you see in what I do, but don't have a solution for it. You have to understand that most people are easily will point fingers, but won't have a solution because they haven't, again, figured it out. And so when you get this awareness, and that's ultimately what it is having an awareness of where that person's at, having an awareness that, hey, I'm going to be, you can say it's the bigger person. It's not really the bigger person. It's more so, I'm going to try to make this particular moment in time a better moment for both of us. Because we need people to be that way. We need people to go out there and make things better, not worse. I don't care what you do. I don't care your beliefs and opinions, right? Those are your beliefs and opinions, right? I respect that. Respect mine. Don't try to insult me because of something that you're doing is not working for you. Instead, ask questions. Ask me how I did it, and I will be more than happy to help you. It's, again, we're going to have the interaction, and I'm going to be kind and respectful to you, as long as you are respectful and not getting carried away, right? Because at that point, then I just cut it off and realize that you are at a state of mind where it doesn't matter what I say, it's not going to get through to you, because you are just too far in a deep state. It's nothing personal. Also, again, I'm not going to take a tongue lashing for something I didn't do, for my opinions, my thoughts, and my beliefs, and I will take a step away. And for me, I laugh it off, because that's the way I cope. That's the way I work, because I don't think it is that serious. It doesn't need to be that serious. And we live in a society that everything is so serious. When someone's, trying to insult you, take everything so serious. And yes, there are times when I have to, again, double check myself and realize that, hey, this person's really trying to attack me, and that's fine. Do what you need to do. But if you feel like, you're just trying to insult me because you feel like you're better than me in whatever reason, you don't know that. Nobody's better than the next person. You always have something we can help somebody else out with. And again, that's the biggest thing that frustrates me, is someone feeling that they're above you. I am not above or below anybody. You are not above or below me. We are on equal playing fields. It doesn't matter who you are. Nobody should be above anybody. Nobody should be below anybody. We are all humans, right? We all live the same day-to-day things, right? We put our legs in our pants one at a time, right? We all live in this world with difficulties. Let's not make it harder for one another for insulting each other. Now, this isn't me being soft. This is where a lot of people get that confused and think that it's me being soft. I can be very hard on people. I have been in the past extremely hard on people. I know what I'm capable of. And this is something that I talked about in one of my other podcasts, talking about, becoming a monster, right? Like, I've pushed myself to the point to where I know what I am capable of. And I will be cordial, I will be nice, and I will be respectful, because I know where you're at. I try to get an understanding of where you're at. But don't railroad me, and don't sit there and think that I can't handle it either. So it goes both ways. It's very delicate. And I know a lot of times, society likes to separate that, you're soft if you do this, that. You're not soft at all. Because you attack things, becoming that monster, you attack things with an understanding of what you're capable of. Most people don't have an understanding of what they're capable of. Physically, mentally, what are you capable of? Have you challenged yourself enough? When you challenge yourself enough, you are building that confidence that when somebody comes out and they try to insult you, you laugh it off. Like, I've been through more than what you could possibly tell me. So your insults, they don't mean anything, but I'm going to take it as a learning moment in time for both of us to make this situation better, to make you and I better, to challenge myself to be aware that, hey, you're coming from a bad spot. Let me try to help you out. You could take that information, digest it, and perhaps make great changes in your life, or you can turn around and not, and then continue to insult, continue to go out there and heckle people, continue to go out there and just troll people for no reason, because you feel like, because I am not there, everybody else should be at my level. Why can't we be more positive about things? It's so easy to go negative on anything. It is so easy. If I really thought about, and this is why, meditation and everything really has helped me a lot. Because a lot of times I feel like that voice inside your head, right, is like 7 out of 8 times, that voice is always negative. There's always something bad. And if you train your brain to think about the negative, that's all you're going to get. And it takes a lot of time, especially with society. You're watching commercials, you're watching all these other different things. And so you have to understand that by doing this, you're subconsciously programming your mind to see negative in things. When you see commercials about how you're overweight, when you see commercials about why you're not smart enough, or you're seeing commercials on, you could be happier if you just did this, if you just took care of yourself. Yes, it's important to take care of yourself, but that doesn't mean destroying other people's lives. And that completely frustrates me, why other people want to go out and rip other people's, towers down. Why can't you build alongside other people? Realize that your relationships and everything you do in life will be better when you build people up and not tear people down. That's what you need to learn in life. The biggest thing you need to learn in life is not to tear people down. Build people up. Every opportunity like this is an opportunity for you to help build someone back up, because they have fallen. And if you could be the better person to help that fallen comrade, help them out and show them that I made it possible. I'm here to help you. You could take it or leave it. I know you're coming from a bad spot, and I'm also not going to just let you just run all over me, because I have confidence in myself. And that's what it ultimately comes down to. It's having that confidence in yourself, having that faith in yourself. That comes first. When you have that, people trying to insult you, it doesn't matter. You laugh it off, because it's at a lower level, and they are better than that. They are better than that. You are better than that, to not go back and lash out. And sometimes you may fall into that where you just start lashing out. I've done that. Even with all the practices I've been doing, there are sometimes I still lash out. And then I have to be aware, okay, Marcus, what are you doing? I'm starting to lash out. I'm not taking my own advice. And you have to realize that you're not going to be 100%. Anybody out there that says they are 100% on these things is a lie. You're not going to be 100% on any of it. You will be as close to perfect as possible, but you'll never be perfect. It's about practicing every single day. And this is why practice and repetition matters. Because the more reps you get right, the more accurate you will be. And in turn, you can make other people's lives better. You can make your life a lot better. And people will respect you for that. You can be grateful for that. And those people that were out there, they were talking bad about you, they want to be your friends. They want to be your allies. They see the wrong in their ways. But you have to step up and be the better person to be able to do that. And not take things emotionally. because we are emotional creatures, and you're going to have to continue to battle that because it's wired in you, whether you like it or you don't. So find the confidence in yourself, do the work, then take those moments and make them moments that makes you and them better.